Good evening from the Nation Center. Many thanks for joining us. This is a special production and we are focusing on the war on polio. And of course, there have been cases reported in the northeastern part of the country of the polio virus. 6 cases have been confirmed by the government, and we have information that 4 other cases are under investigation. And we want to focus on this and, of course, educate the masses even more on awareness and the vaccination and the war against polio. I am joined in studio tonight by Dr. Joseph Mbudia, consultant pediatrician. Thank you, Dr. for joining us.
Thank you, Ben, for the invite.
Yes, karibu sana. And also, it's Ben, not Bin.
Ben.
It was
yes.
Bin in the poster. We also have with us Rehab Kiringa, a polio champion from the county of Kiambu. Thank you, Rehab, for joining us.
Thank you for having me. It is not Kiringa, it is Kiranga.
Kiranga.
Yes.
My apologies for that, and thank you for joining us. Now, we want to educate our viewers a bit more on polio and, of course, what they need to know on the war on polio, where we are as of now, where the country is. Daktari, if I can begin with you, if you can just update us on the current outbreak that has been reported in Garissa, I believe. How serious is this? What do we know so far?
It's a serious event as an outbreak because we are aiming to have 0 cases. And we were very hopeful that we'll be certified polio-free, so this is a little bit of a setback. So that in itself is a serious thing, and it has been responded to by activating the usual emergency response machinery at the ministry, with the emergency response center being activated for reporting new cases. The ministry has also responded by sending teams on site composed of various specialists to investigate and to try and contain and ensure that it does not spread from Garissa.
Right.
Yes.
They're
being helped by the partners such as World Health Organization and the Rotary Club and other partners who are interested in polio eradication.
Right.
Yes.
We'll get into more of what it means, the National Emergency Operations Center, what that operation means and who it involves, the government, the county governments involved at all. We'll get into that a bit later. But just for the sake of educating our viewers and anybody watching us, what is polio? Just back to the basic, and how is it contracted?
Polio is a viral disease, and it only affects human beings, and that is why it is hoped that it can be eradicated because there are no animal reservoirs. However, it's a very difficult virus because it can stay in the environment for years. The virus has 3 subgroups or subtypes: polio type 1, 2, and 3. Now, the mode of transmission is from hand to mouth, what is called in technical terms fecal-oral. That is eating, this is a difficult one at dinner time, but it's eating dirt or feces that has been perhaps left in the environment. So it's mainly eating that, or it can sometimes be through water, contaminated water. Once it enters the body, it multiplies in the intestines, and while it's doing that, it then can spread to the nervous system, causing the symptoms that we know, such as paralysis. That happens fairly quickly, over 2 days, and the polio virus paralysis does not fully recover, so it's permanent.
Okay.
some very few cases can end up in death because it can paralyze the muscles of the breathing, the lungs, the lung muscles, so that one is unable to breathe, and that can lead to death. Deaths from polio were quite common before the vaccines were introduced.
All right.
Yes.
All right. Thanks for that background, Dr. Rahab, if I can come to you, maybe you can, you're a polio champion, and we thank God for champions like you for continuing to educate the masses and being an inspiration for many. How was your childhood up, just from what you can remember from birth up to when you contracted polio?
Thank you, Ben. I think I've shared this story severally, and I am proud of that, because being a champion and being the face of polio, it's very easy now to make parents understand what is this that the government is fighting. I acquired polio at an early age of 1.5 years, and as my mom tells me, I walked, I didn't crawl, I just walked at the age of 7 months. So she found me praying with the other kids, and she was perturbed because she didn't expect that. I'm a fourth born in a family of 7, and this happened when my mom was working on a coffee plantation nearby. My home is Getundu South, that is where I was born. So she was working as a casual laborer at a coffee plantation nearby. So this day she went to work normally, and what she used to do, she used to leave me together with my siblings, the younger ones, at a school that was nearby, because I could not be left at home alone. So she left me with the others and went to work. But when she came back in the evening, she found me suffering from fever, high fever, and also flu. So she thought it wise to take me to the nearest hospital, which was Gatundu Hospital then. And when I was taken to the hospital, she says I got injected. And from there, I could not sit, I could not stand, I could do literally nothing. But she was told to go home with me and I'll get better. So the whole night I cried.
How old were you at this time?
1.5 years.
Oh.
And I cried the whole night. So in the morning, she woke up and thought she should take me back to the hospital and explain my case. So when she took me back to the hospital, she was referred to Kenyatta, KNH. So when we got to KNH, that is when she was told, your child or your girls have suffered from polio and got a paralysis from the hip downwards.
Right.
So I could not sit, I could literally do nothing. So she was advised that the only thing that can happen is for me to start therapy. So I started attending therapy in Nairobi, then called Bora Road. It is the current APDK at Westlands, but then it was at the Akamba bus station. Those days, it is back in 1971, 72, 73. So those days there were no many hospitals, there were no facilities. So she was forced to live in Nairobi, because when she got back home, disclosed the news to my dad did not take it well, and she did not see it fit to stay with a kid who has a disability, because she was told my condition has changed and cannot be reversed, so she should brace herself to live with a child with disability all my life. So my dad did not take it well, and that resulted to us going from home, leaving home, and going to live in the streets of Nairobi, because she could not afford to bring me for therapy. I was supposed to come for therapy on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Right. My mom could not afford. By then she was pregnant with my brother that follows me. No, not that follows me. She was pregnant, but there was a young boy of 1 year. By then tulikuwa tunazaliwa after every 9 months. After every 9 months those days. So she was pregnant, and there was another boy, and there was me. So she had to take us all to Nairobi. So she used to sleep at the street hapa kwa Akamba bus. In the morning, ananipeleka. And those people at the center realized that this woman is not changing, the kids are not changing, they're becoming dirty. And also we had nothing to eat. So you can imagine our state. And when she was asked, she said, I cannot afford to go back to Gatundu, and I have to bring her to this therapy. So we were taken in. She was given a servant quarter, and we were given some clothes, and we used to feed on milk and bread that was being given to kids who are coming for therapy. And from there, we progressed. Yeah, we progressed. And I got assessed, and I joined Joytown Special School for the Handicapped. And I joined on a wheelchair. I could not stand, but due to intensive therapy, the journey was not easy, but I can now stand. My last operation was undertaken when I completed my O-levels. That is back in 1990. That is when I was able now to leave the calipers. We call them calipers, and crutches, and I could use a cane. Yeah.
All right. Thanks for that inspiring story, and we'll get into a bit more of your personal life and how how different things are today in terms of management of polio. But Daktari, are things from where you stand, are things better in terms of, she has described how that response was at the hospital back in 1971. How different and better are things today in terms of from when a child contracts the virus, the response by the medical centers? Are things better now, would you say?
Yes, but once one contracts polio, there's very little one can do in terms of treatment, because it has no drugs to treat it. You can only treat the effects, like was done for rehab, what is called rehabilitation. But the damage is permanent, and that is why it's crucial that parents take this thing very seriously. So obviously things have changed. We no longer have wild polio. That is the...
Just for the sake of our viewers, what is the difference? Because you understand wild polio was WHO, World Health Organization, certified Africa free of wild polio back in 2020?
Yes.
What does that mean?
That means in the continent there is no circulation of the native polio virus. That's the original polio virus. What we have circulating and what is causing problems up in Garissa is another problem. It's a virus that has evolved from the vaccines that have been used to eradicate polio. In particular, this strain that is causing the outbreak at this time is vaccine-derived circulating virus, type 2. Type 2. So the wild virus is eradicated, but those that have evolved from the vaccine are in circulation, particularly the type 2 vaccine. Yes. Is
there a difference in terms of the effects of the type 2 polio? Is it milder, would you say?
Okay, I will explain the differences. Yes. The wild virus, or the native virus, is quite infectious, and it is it causes disease in a good proportion, probably about around 10% to have paralysis, and a smaller proportion die. The vaccine is made from a poliovirus that has been made mild through some processes of vaccine production. This is called attenuation. So the milder forms of polioviruses are the ones that are used in the vaccines, and by mild means that the body can recognize it's a poliovirus and react and form an immunity to it and be able to fight the wild poliovirus. But in themselves, by being made mild, they cannot cause the symptoms of polio. That is mainly paralysis or even fever. So what then happens? Some of the vaccine viruses get into the environment, mix with other viruses, and over time acquire power once more to cause disease. Okay?
Makes sense.
And they also acquire the ability to circulate, that is, infect person to person in the community.
Oh.
So we call them circulating vaccine-derived polioviruses. So that is the difference.
All right.
Yes.
All right. Thanks for that education, Dr. Ari. Let's take a quick break here on this production. We are talking about polio and the effects of polio, and of course awareness that the vaccination drive that the government is currently undertaking. Of course, the latest being there have been 6 confirmed cases of the polio virus in the county of Garissa. 4 other cases are under investigation. Let's take a quick commercial break. We'll be back shortly with more of this for you. Stay with us.
The Motindum liquid electronic device reaches every corner, giving your loved ones a peaceful sleep. Together, we can fight to end malaria. Motindum, Kenya's #1 choice.
On my dark marks, I've tried everything from A to Z, even vitamin C, but hardly any results. Nivea Lumina 630 works from day 1, with visible results in just 2 weeks and 71% dark marks reduction in 12. Join the 1 million women already using the #1 Lumina 630 from Nivea.
We asked the children, how many of you brushed this morning? And this little boy, his hand didn't go up. And I said, well, why didn't you brush this morning? He said, my brother was using the toothbrush. If I'd waited for him, I would have been late for school. I'm sorry, I get a bit emotional when it comes to that. To be able to change a child's life, to be able to bring back that confidence about their smile, for me, is phenomenal.
Now, it has been 2 great days where we've had discussions on how Africa transforms after the virus. And it's very clear that the solution on the future of Africa lies with Africans. It lies right here with our people. In the 2 days, we had good discussions on what we need to do about this continent, and we were challenged that what is important is what we do in terms of the actions we take to actually transform this continent. Such comments like, there are as many stories as there are Africans.
Police in Gatondo are hunting for a thief without the lower lip after it was bitten off by a victim during a robbery. Aliuma hiyo lip, akabaki nayo. So vile walihepa, akaichukua, akaibeba, akaipeleka kwa police station kuripot. Makarao akakataa kuchukua hiyo lip ati juu hawana freezer. That's true, which I think is just an excuse. Police in general wapendi mtu anawaletea mdomo.
Hoka uzanga kulingana venye unakaa. Ndio anaweza kuangalia hivi akwambia customer tissue.
Ushidi Gardens, Nakuru. This property is developed by Optiven. What's unique about this property? It's only 18 minutes from Nakuru City, the pink city. So please call this number 0790 300 300. Optiven, we have you covered.
Hodi. Habari yako mama. Wewe weka pesa zako wapi?
Mimi weka pesa zangu kwa hii mkebe.
Mama, sidhani hiyo mkebe iko safe. Kenya Deposit Insurance Corporation lina jukumu la kulinda pesa zako kwenye benki.
Welcome back. Welcome back. You're watching this special production on the war on polio. I have with me in studio Dr. Joseph Mbudhia, a consultant pediatrician and an expert on matters polio. I have also with me Rehab Kiranga. I got that right?
Yeah.
All right. A polio champion from the county of Kiambu, just educating our viewers on the war on polio. What are some of the symptoms and transmission, and of course what you should know and who is at most at risk. And Rehab, if I can come back to you, you gave us a bit of your where you started your journey with polio, but before we go, I wanted to pick your brain on what you could advise maybe today's parents and some of the experiences they are going through. But just before we get into that, the effects of polio, how has it affected maybe your personal life and education, growing up, your career? Maybe if you could talk to us about that.
Okay. I should say that the effects are there. They are not good. It's not a good experience. But because we went through it, we want to encourage parents. If you happen to get a child like Rahab, or you see you happen to see the symptoms of disability or paralysis in your child, it is important to bring that child out. Most of us parents are staying with these kids at home, and I remember when I acquired polio, my mother tells me, we are 4 in my village. 3 of us were able to attend Joytown, but 1 did not. So I can say we are 5 because 1 did not go to school, and myself. So we are 5. And I'm told that during that period, they did not understand the dynamics of polio. I don't know whether there are those vaccines or there are not the routine vaccine for polio, I don't know. But they did not understand. Initially, my mother thought it was measles. So alikuwa anasema ni githoko, na Kikuyu we call it githoko. So she used to think it is githoko. But because of engaging professionals in the hospitals, she was able to understand it. And even the journey of joining a special school. Those days we only had Joytown Special School for the disabled. And that one in Joyland, that is Kisumu County. So we only had 2 in the whole country. You can imagine, we were so many of us who are acquiring disability, physical disability, but the schools were very limited. So she started looking for that vacancy. She went to Joytown Thika for 4 years without me getting a chance. And in fact, how I got my chance to join Joytown, it was a miracle, because my mother had gone, she had taken me for interviews, and she was told I could only join the school in 1984. This is a girl. By then I was 5 years, and she could imagine I'm growing, and I cannot be able to join the local schools because I could not walk to the school. Those were a few kilometers, and she could not carry me to the school and then come and go back to Kibarua to feed us. So it was hard, but it was a miracle, like I said, and we happened to lose 2 of the children who were to be admitted in that year, 1978, by road accident. So that is how I got a chance. So I replaced one of the kids that we lost in the accident. And after joining the school, it was still not easy, because it's a boarding school. You are expected to do shopping, and like the others who just leave home in the morning with a kasuku, food that was cooked last night. In our school, you are supposed to pay school fees. You are supposed to pay for your food. You are supposed to pay other things like a normal boarding school. So even for her to afford this was a challenge. And she told me that when she got the form now, my admission form, those days we had these kabati vehicles face me, and she was seated here. This is the girl with so many tumors in the body, amemshika, and she started crying. She looked at the form like this. She is educated a bit. She read the requirements that were supposed to accompany me to Joytown in January, and this is November. She started crying. She wondered where she could get this. By then we were staying at my grandmother's. They had parted with my dad because of me. She could not be allowed back home. So when she started crying, they were seated together asked, "Why are you crying, Mama?" She drew the form to him. And when he took the form, he read. You know, everything that was there was bought by the people who were in that matatu, and they added some money for transport.
Oh.
They gave her 5 shillings to make sure I get to school in January. So that was just a miracle. And that is a drive that has made me champion issues of disability. Talk to parents and encourage them and give them hope, because there is hope. The only thing is that you don't have to despair and you don't have to be ashamed, because when you get a child with disability, there are so many things that are thrown to you by the society, by your immediate family. I'm telling you, this was my dad. So your immediate family. So it is not easy, and especially for mothers. I always say this, mothers happens to bear the greatest burden, because you are men, but you allow me say this, to men, kwetu hakuzaliwi viwete. So, viwete ni wapande yenu. To them, hakuna kitu kama hiyo. To men, this is a curse from your end. Ama hii ni uchawi. Yeah? So mothers end up bringing up these kids alone. Yeah. Yeah.
And bless your mother, she's an angel.
She is an angel.
From your experience.
Yes, I love her so much.
Yeah. From your experience, what you see today, I'm sure you've interacted with many people. Have things changed in both people's perceptions of despairing about having a child with polio, and also the system? Do we have more schools nowadays that can accommodate people with disabilities from the polio?
Yeah, I can say things have changed, but there's still room for improvement, because when you talk of schools, like now I come from Kiambu County. Yeah. In Kiambu County, government schools, we have several, but mainly for physical disability, we only have 2. We also have for other disabilities. But you being able to join that school, education for persons with disability has never been free. When we transited to free primary and day secondary education, our status remained the same. Because this is a child who has to go, have a house mother to take care of them, pay the bills, electricity and everything. So the fees is very expensive. Most mothers, and disability and poverty are intertwined. If you do your research, you realize 70% of persons with disability come from very poor families. So when you tell them to go to school, and they are expected to pay at least a school fees of 24,000 per term, how many of us can afford? Very few. And the government has been talking of inclusive education, not integration, because I think we tried integration, but it has failed, because we had these units in schools, and this unit is expected to accommodate various disabilities, and we do not have teachers who are trained for these disabilities. And also in these schools, there is no age. Yeah. So you find a child of 24 years, and a child of 8 years, and another one of 5 years, all in the same unit. And also the facilities. Are they accessible? No. And education itself, is it accessible? No, because you don't have teachers trained for this. Yeah. So it has been a challenge, our education sector, especially for persons with disability. This is something we are pleading to the government to look at, yes.
All right. Dr. To give context, what is the current status of polio in Kenya and globally?
I would say there have been this effort to eradicate polio because it's eradicatable. And the 2 countries that remain with wild polio are Afghanistan and Pakistan. These 2 have. Some years ago we had some countries in Africa like Nigeria, but that is now behind us. So the end game, or the end of polio, we can say that it's in sight, but it's tricky, because as long as we have wild polio in some countries in the world, this being a global village, everyone is at risk. The level of risk may be different. It may be higher for those who are closer to those countries and those with low immunization rates for what we call routine immunization, or the vaccine that children have to get. Mm-hmm. Kenya is no exemption. We are at risk. So although our national coverage rate for routine immunization, particularly for polio 3, is not so very good, but it's not dire. It's at around 80%. Mm-hmm. But if you look at the details, some counties are lagging behind and they're at a greater risk. So we have, globally we can say the risk is not gone. Nationally, we are still at risk. We also think of our neighbors who are not in such comfort as we are in terms of social stability. Mm-hmm. And we know that when there is instability, immunization levels fall, and therefore the risk increases. It's not a surprise that this outbreak of a circulating vaccine-derived polio virus is near our border, right? Mm-hmm. So, but also to bring into context, there have been polio viruses isolated in the environment in the US and also in Europe. So we are a global village. So wherever there is one wild polio virus or circulating vaccine-derived viruses, there is still a threat. Now, the attacking ability or the seriousness of disease caused by the wild polio may be more, but the circulating vaccine-derived one, if it stays long enough, it can become as severe as the wild one, and therefore there is still that threat.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Many thanks for staying with us here. We are talking about efforts to create awareness and kick out polio for good, and of course the status of polio globally and in the country. Let's take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we'll focus on some of the possible solutions, advice to caregivers, especially hesitant caregivers, advice to parents and guardians and all that. Stay with us. This is our special production on the war on polio.
Today we're on Happy Kenya Clean Toilet Mission. And we're visiting Mama Zawadi live in Nairobi. Come with me. Ah, Selena! Mama Zawadi, how do you keep your toilets clean?
I use normal detergent and bleach for washing.
The detergent and bleach cleanless can leave behind yellowness, rust and germs. Harpic's 10 times better cleaning compared to regular detergents and bleach, and kills 99.9% illness-causing germs in your toilet, including the COVID-19 virus.
Wow, Selena! Nimeamini sasa!
Really? Yes! Now that she's part of the mission, the next house is yours.
Yeah, spicy na bamba tunaja. Introducing a new range of Royco spices. An explosion of rich, authentic taste. Spicika fresh. Spicika na Royco. Making those good meals great.
You do your best out there. Let us do our best in here with the disinfecting power of Jake. Because Jake cleans and kills 99.9% of illness-causing germs and COVID-19 in your home. Jake, your family's guardian against germs and COVID-19.
This is NTV.
Tonight, times are tough, but for the president, it's no retreat, no surrender.
We've had to take hard decisions and make painful choices and to confront facts as they are without flinching or equivocating.
Addressing the pain of the economy in the State of the Nation address. Also tonight, the status of the people is telling of the state of the nation.
Na hata mwaka itaisha, tumeumia sana, ametuongezea mafuta iko juu, tunaumia na pikipiki sana.
Dola imepanda sana. Kuanzia saa hii hatuwezi enda ng'ambo kwenda kutafuta bidhaa.
Kenyans' voices paint the picture of pain and strain in black and white. Plus, court slams brakes on gazetted hikes in identity cards, passports and other services under the Interior Ministry of a curious gazette notice and broken ping-ponging government communication. And we delve in and analyze the state of the nation and the President's address, front and center tonight.
Mortein Doom, with its trusted formulation, it provides protection in seconds. So spread the Mortein Doom message of how we, you and I, can fight to end malaria.
Mortein Doom, Kenya's #1 choice.
It's the most fun-filled month of the year, and GoTV's going all out for little ones of all ages. Our crazy characters will be lighting up their screens all day long. There's plenty to do for the whole family with our world-class kids channels. For non-stop festive fun, stay connected or reconnect to GoTV to keep busy brains entertained and learning this festive season.
Ooh, yes!
GoTV, love it.
Wateja who prefer stock zangu juu ziko tayari kuvaliwa pap lakini vile hii ekonomi imetufinya, ilinibidi kubadilisha sabuni nikatumia ingine rahisi. Bala, ilibidi nioshe kila kitu mara 2. Sikuwa na otherwise, nikarudia Ariel. Mi hupata clean and fresh results kwa mwosho mmoja tu. Ariel ndio siri yangu. Sasa story yangu iko popular sana.
Ariel, usafi bora kwa mwosho mmoja tu.
Na wewe unaitwa aje?
Mimi naitwa Shiro.
Shiro, wewe weka pesa zako wapi?
Zangu naekanga hapa ndani. Ndio hizi pesa zangu.
Makubwa haya.
Kenya Deposit Insurance Corporation lina jukumu la kulinda pesa zako kwenye benki.
Welcome back to our special production on the war on polio. Of course, the latest, keep reminding, 6 confirmed cases in the county of Garissa, and 4 others are under investigation. And I want to get into that very crucial part, of course, the vaccination campaigns that we have heard of so many times. Daktari, if I can begin with you, talk to us through the vaccination. I mean, we have, in my estate, I have, community health volunteers visiting, asking for my 4-year-old to be vaccinated. And of course, in July, I think, we had the United States Embassy issue travel advisory to its workers who are going, especially to the northeastern part of the country. WHO telling its workers and people to be vaccinated. Talk us through vaccination, polio vaccination, how it has evolved, where we are and where we are going next.
Okay. I did mention that there are 3 types of polio virus, 1, 2, and 3. Mm-hmm. And the first vaccines were one that is of drops, of the attenuated, of mild, not disease-causing polio viruses, 3 of them. The other one was an injectable one. In this country, we've used always the one that is of drops, the oral one, and that it works by multiplying in the body, and in that process, giving the body immunity to recognize and resist the wild polio virus. Now, over time, as the disease became less and less, it became important now to try and the cases that were caused by the vaccine-derived polio viruses became important. In that regard, we stopped giving all the 3 viruses in our polio some years ago, and we now only give 2, type 1 and 3. Type 1 having been eradicated, and also being notorious in that it reverts to an attacking one or a circulating one fairly quickly. So in the past, we've used these supplemental immunization campaigns, the usual routine immunization polio vaccine. But in this instance, we are using what is being called a novel oral polio vaccine type 2. It's novel in that novel means new. Yeah. New means that it's been stabilized from the ability to circulate in the community and also to cause disease. It still gives as much protection as the other one before it was modified. Now, two things. We stopped giving the oral polio type 2 some years ago, and for children to get immunity to type 2, for type 2, we've been giving an injection. So currently, children get 3 rounds of oral doses in routine immunization and 1 injectable one. So it appears that there may not be enough immunity for the type 2, and it's the one that has caused an outbreak in Garissa. So we need this supplemental immunization to reinforce areas that are at high risk. And at the moment, there are those 10 counties that, starting with Garissa, Mandera, Wajir, coming down to Nairobi, and its surrounding, that's Kiambu, Machakos, Kitui. We also have at the coast, people nearer the northeastern, that is Lamu. We also have Tana River. And you can see why that's the route, perhaps, of people moving from that area towards Nairobi, the capital. There's usually high traffic. So we've had 2 rounds in September and October, and we're having a 3rd one. The 3rd one, the 2nd and 3rd one have covered more counties. The first one was in 3 counties. The other 2 have been in the 10 counties. Now, the reason for giving this special one, even for children who have had routine polio immunization, is one, to ensure that all children under 5 years at the same time get the vaccine. So those who have been immunized before in the routine immunization, once they get this, they even become better. The immunity becomes what we call boosted, and therefore they are better able to resist any attacks or any threats of polio. Those who may not have completed their routine immunization, this one gives them an extra boost. Those who may never have had even 1 dose, at least during this supplemental exercise, at least get 2.
So parents shouldn't say, my kid has already been immunized.
No, they should actually welcome this because it makes them even better immune.
Very quickly, I understand we are moving on from oral vaccination to intravenous in future. Why is that?
Not intravenous, but in the muscle.
In the muscle.
In the future, when our surveillance becomes or certifies that we are ready to move to the injectable, we shall then stop giving the polio drops. This is because the polio drops, once taken, can become excreted and get into the environment and circulate and come back to infect us. So to finish polio, we have to stop the oral vaccine somewhere in the future so that we can win this war.
All right. Rehab, as we wind up, do you think there is enough, do you think there's sufficient awareness for preventive measures, to be taken and for a better chance of eradicating polio?
I can say that we are trying because we have had partners. We've done a lot of campaigns with Rotary, who do a lot of fundraising towards this awareness and also the campaigns. And we have UNICEF, WHO, the government of Kenya. So at least there is a combined effort towards eradication of polio and creating awareness. But we still need to do more because it only happens when a virus is detected, when there is an outbreak. That is when we come now to the community, to our parents, to the society and tell them there is this virus called polio And these are the effects of polio. And that is where now Rahab and the rest who are champions or who are survivors of polio will come in and start enlightening the community and telling them the need and why they should let their kids get the immunization. I think this should be a continuous process. As you have said, Daktari, we keep thinking that we have ended polio. We have eradicated polio, but we still keep finding it with us because of our neighboring countries who are still migrating in and out of Kenya. So I think this should be a continuous exercise, and the awareness should be made even in schools, not just in media and out there. Even in school, they should know there is a virus called polio. Like they are being taught about HIV, they know there's COVID, they should know there's polio. So that even the kids, when they are praying, they should also take care of themselves, not to eat that or to take something that can contaminate them with the virus. And also parents. It is important for our parents to know that if you get a child and this child happens to acquire the virus or any other form of disability, usimweke kwa nyumba tafadhali. Wacha kumweka hapo umwangalie. Don't shy off from the society. Whatever they say about you and the child is not important, but there is help out here. So we encourage the parents, make sure that when you see a problem with your child, a child who was very normal, who was working like any other child, but now she's not able to walk, she has acquired some paralysis, please, immediately, without any hesitation, take that child to the nearest facility and seek for help. And if you feel that you have gone to the facility and the child case is not changing, because most of us as parents, we lose hope. When it comes to that point of, I'm supposed to be going for therapy, there's no improvement, so you just decide to abandon the child, unamweka nyumbani, and you go to other businesses. Eventually, you end up having a big baby because she or he is growing.
Yeah.
I can imagine if my mother kept me in the house. Today, I think I would be the worst burden she would like to imagine in her life. Because unatolewa nje, unarudishwa kwa nyumba. Mvua ikinyesha, unanyeshewa. There's these things we call dhuraku in Kikuyu. I don't know what we call them in English. Then
the red ants.
Yes, they will attack you there, and if there's nobody around, you can even die. But if you bring this child out like my mother did, today I'm the help for the family. I'm the help for that woman. So I'll encourage parents, don't just shy off from the society or feel that this child is a burden. In fact, most of us are a blessing. So take us out, seek for help, and there is hope in this child.
All right. Yeah. Daktari, I've always wondered this. Why are some places more prone to the polio virus, like Garissa? Why is Garissa extra prone? It's almost every other time, always in the news whenever we have, these cases. Is there a scientific explanation?
A simple one is that the immunization rates are low, all right? Then where immunization rates are high, like almost near 100%, this wouldn't happen because vaccines protect. Then we have the migration from our neighbors. Some of the children who come across, or even some of our own in the nomadic populations, may not have had even a single polio dose, a few of them, others incomplete doses. So it's the lack of routine immunization that causes this problem, plus of course the population movement and instability in our neighboring states.
All right.
Yes.
I'd like to give you 2 minutes for your final submission and ask you this: what should communities do to support eradication of polio, as you give us your parting shot?
I'd like to assure mothers, particularly those whose children have been immunized and who may feel my child doesn't need it, let's do it for Kenya, because this is a national effort where we are trying to vaccinate as many children under 5 in these special counties as possible for the greater good. And I would like parents to know that these extra doses, no matter how many they are not harmful, and they are beneficial because each time the child gets an extra dose, they get that extra immunity. So let's all support this exercise. It's cost a lot to our government and to our partners, and I know there'll be people walking many kilometers just to give these drops to the children and to find where they are. So let's make the work of such teams easy to make this exercise a success. If we achieve the targets that are set for us, we can and we shall defeat this disease. Thank you.
Thank you, Daktari. Rehab, the final word today, your final thoughts. What role can communities play to eradicate polio from Kenya?
Okay, thank you so much. I would say, like Daktari has said, let us embrace this exercise. Let us not fight it. There is a place I went and they said, kwani polio imekuwa uji. Sio uji. When you don't know the effects, and when you have cases like Rahab who have suffered it from childhood, at the age of 50-something, you are still struggling with the effects of polio. So I would advise our parents, this journey is not easy. Mothers who have suffered this and fathers can tell you. So please, for the sake of your child and also for yourself, let us embrace this exercise. Let us give our child the vaccine, and we will have a better Kenya tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Rehab Kiranga, polio champion, for coming to studio here on NTV to, share your inspiring story and, of course, continue to educate our viewers. And, of course, we also had Dr. Joseph Mbudia, consultant pediatrician. Many thanks for your analysis and explanations of all these things that many people probably don't know, and, of course, for continuing the awareness and the efforts to kick out polio and eradicate it from this country. Many thanks, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us.
Thank you.
So we leave it on our special production on the war on polio. Thank you for watching. Don't go anywhere. NTV Tonight is coming up shortly.